Welcome to the League of Women Voters Forum. Tonight we have a full schedule. We will be starting with some of the senatorial candidates. They will give a 3-minute introduction, and then we will ask several questions. I want to thank all of you who have submitted questions. We got some on email, and we've had some here. If any of you have any questions you'd like to have addressed, you can give them to Kitty. And also, I want you to know that we have far many more questions than we have time with these folks, because this is a small group. When we get the House representative candidates up, it's going to be a large group. But we want to make sure that you have time to listen to each of these candidates. This is a forum. It is not a debate, refreshingly. So these folks will be informing us, giving us information about what their positions are on the various issues that you raise in your questions. The senatorial candidates, as I said, will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves. Vicki up front here will help us to keep on target. Vicki, could you make yourself known? She'll let you know when you have 1 minute and when your time's up. Those of you with acute hearing will hear the bell ring when your time is up. Okay. So to begin with, let's hear from our candidates. Let's begin with you. Introductions, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'll take as least amount of time as I can. I think it's more important to have questions. I'm Senator Roman Prezioso. I've had the privilege to serve you for several years now, and I don't think I have to tell you about myself. I just want to emphasize one thing. I'm ready to go to Charleston and do the job that needs to be done. I've done it in the past. I've worked with every president, starting back with Neil Bucklew, David Hardesty, Jim Clemens, and now Dr. Gee. I've worked when your med center was in trouble with John Jones, and I've worked with every one of those administrators out there, Chris Calanda. I'm willing to go do the job. I stand on my record. I know it's not popular to be a longtime politician, but I'll stand on my work ethic and my record, and I'll work for the people of Monongalia County. I got to start in Monongalia County in 1971 as a teacher for the Monongalia Board of Education, and I feel very strongly about this community and what we've done. I've worked for education, healthcare, and economic development. And if you'll afford me the opportunity to go back to Charleston, because it's going to be a difficult time, I know the budget, I know healthcare, I've chaired the health committee, the education committee. I'm willing to work for you and make this a showcase for the state of West Virginia. Like I said, I'm not going to take a lot of time. I think it's more important for you to ask us questions, and I'll relinquish my time. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Zukoff, and I'm running for state senator in the 2nd district, which includes the western end of Monongalia County and the Cheat Lake area. I am new to the political scene. I am running for the seat that Jeff Kessler has held for almost 20 years. I'm from Moundsville, Marshall County. I live there with my husband of 29 years. We have 2 daughters and 4 dogs. We have a busy house. But I am pleased to be here. I'd like to thank the ladies, the League of Women Voters, for having this forum. I think it's important for us to get out and speak to folks. Is this better? Okay. Did you hear the first part? Okay. I don't want to repeat myself and lose my time. But I do have I have an extensive experience in working in both the public arena and as a housing authority director for close to 20 years. I worked in public finance for 8 years, and my husband and I have had a small business in Moundsville, an aftermarket automotive accessories and tire store for over 30 years. I think that gives me a unique opportunity to go to the legislature and understanding the public sector, the private sector, and small business. It gives me a unique economic experience to understand the issues that will face us in Charleston. as the senator said, it's going to be a tough time. We have a lot of issues to deal with in West Virginia. I decided to run when the legislature this year passed the repeal of the prevailing wage. My reason for running was I couldn't understand in a state as poor as West Virginia how the legislature could reduce someone's wages. It really irritated me, and after some of the other things that have been happening in the legislature in the last 2 sessions, that's why I decided to throw my hat in the ring. I am the first person in my family to go to college. I worked my way through WVU. I have a degree in political science, so I know firsthand what a quality education can do for someone. That's the main part of my platform, is to increase the folks that are in our state that can go to college or a trade. Not everyone needs to go to college, but we all need to have a marketable skill. I think that in order to increase the economic outcomes in our state and bring jobs into the state, we have to have an employable workforce, and that means an educated workforce. WVU and the other colleges really help drive, and universities help drive the economy in the state, and I think we need to lean on their research and innovation to help us increase our economic diversity in the state. I have met with Dr. Gee and talked to him about some of those issues, and we're right on track with what he wants to do at the university and understands the issues that we've had with cutting the university. I also believe in expanding broadband across the state. It's not such an issue in this county, but in a lot of the counties in the 2nd District, they don't have good broadband, and without good broadband, you can't compete economically. And it's really important for us as a state to do that. So I will let my time go with that. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening, and I look forward to your questions.
I need no introduction, right, Madam Chairman? H. John Rogers, New Martinsville. My friend Romeo. It is Romeo, isn't it?
Roman's fine.
Fine, okay. I can endorse him wholeheartedly. Ms. Dukoff is a nice, sweet young lady, but it's like sending her to Charleston is like throwing a guppy into the shark tank. Okay? I'm sorry, but that's the truth, Lisa. I've battled these people, and Romeo, is it?
Roman.
Okay. I go back to Elvis Starr. I guess I should. This is the biography time, and not the time of the arguments, right?
That's all right. I've been called a whole lot worse.
I graduated from here in '62, 55 pounds. 50 years ago, I was captain of the track team, cross country. I took a year out, worked construction, did 9 months in the West Virginia Penitentiary as a guard. Then to Harvard. Practiced law in Wetzel County. In 1952, I had what a young man like you're looking to, Eddie, would be, what would you say, crisis of confidence anyway. But anyway, so I handled that by going to 2 theology schools, or actually I went to 6. Graduated in 2, the Pittsburgh Theological Seminary, which is a Presbyterian school. I was in New York a lot. I attended the Seminary of the Immaculate Conception. You know what that is, right? Okay. And that's out on Long Island. Then I also was a matriculate at the Washington Square Institute for Psychoanalysis. My time is up, and I won't do like, I have 1 minute, okay. I will conclude. I think I've covered it all. I am married. I have 2 children, 25 and 17. And she's a hot rod queen. She's a senior at Valley High School. If anybody has any ideas about handling girls, let me know afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, as I said earlier, you may not recognize the wording of your question because we have several questions that overlap. One that we've had frequently is sounds like this. Where will you look for income and resources to establish a sustainable, balanced budget?
Would you like to start with this one? Thanks.
That gives you 15 seconds to think.
Well, I have had some time to think about this. I think that to establish a balanced budget, I believe in an efficient government, and I really think that we need to look at every aspect of government. We've done a lot of cutting, but I don't know, it's been pretty much across the board that we've really taken a look at, are there efficiencies that we can achieve? I also think, while I'm not for legalizing marijuana just for recreational use, I am for legalizing it for medicinal purposes. The science points out that it's very effective in the treatment of numerous diseases, and I think that that would be a revenue producer for the state. I also think that we need to, we really need to take a look at our higher education facilities and how can we market those more broadly to the rest of the country. We have affordable tuitions in comparison to other states, and I think that that already brings in billions into our states in revenue. And obviously, we need to do everything we can to attract new businesses here, to increase jobs that then increase our tax base.
Pardon?
I'd be happy to.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Now, this is an issue that I've been all around. I could probably talk to you all evening about taxes and general revenues. And, you know, I was the chair of finance for 4 years, and each year we produced a balanced budget. Now, the crisis that we're in right now is nobody's fault. I mean, the finger pointing back and forth isn't going to do any good. The economy's in the tank. We've experienced some downfall in our severance, which has retroactive effects. It hurts our personal income tax. It hurts our business taxes and things of that sort. So we've got to take a good look at what we're going to do. And when I say that, over the past 4 years or 6 years, we've cut almost every agency about 20%. Now, if you cut 20% out of your household budget, you're going to have some problems. I think we're beyond trying to find more efficiency in state government. If you've observed what's going on with the general revenues in the first quarter, the first 3 months, we're $81 million behind. If that continues, we're going to end up $320 million in the hole this year. We were $340 last year. We can't sustain that kind of backslide. Whoever's going to be governor, and I just want to say this, I see folks from the county commission to city council. I've worked with these folks in building the community here, and we've got to look beyond nickel-diming, trying to cut this agency. Whoever's governor, whether it be Bill Cole or Jim Justice, I'll work across the aisle. There's Republicans here and there's Democrats. I've never used that as any litmus test. I will work with this governor to cut nickel-dime. They're going to have to look at restructuring government. There isn't any way you're going to get around balancing this budget. You're going to have to take government and look at the citizens and work exponentially to make the government work for the citizens. I didn't even get into the taxes and things of that sort. I'm sorry. I'll stay afterwards, or if you ask me a question again, I'll answer it. Thank you.
I feel better talking when I'm standing up. Maybe that's because I spent most of my life trying cases. Just let me segue here into what my distinguished opponent here is talking about, putting her little finger in the water of legalization of drugs. Oh my, we're so bold, aren't we? We'll legalize, what is it, medical marijuana? Well, here's what I say about that issue. The war on drugs is over. Drugs is won, young man, and you know, right? Drugs is won. I can tell you're a pothead just by looking at you.
I'm a teacher, actually, but thank you.
Well, teachers can be potheads too. Tell him, Roman. The war on drugs is over. Drugs is won. Let's have a decent barrel. You know, the one sad thing about drugs is this. is we're trying to treat a medical problem by legal means. And I'm done. Am I done?
Do you want to answer the question?
Oh, I got 2 minutes. Okay, answer the question. What was the question?
2 seconds.
Jesus. Oh, Jesus is the answer. That's the question. Thank you.
Tax revenues from most traditional resources and tax rates, with the exception of the consumer sales tax and severance tax, continue to diminish at alarming rates. At the last legislative session, legislators were unwilling to increase taxes and resorted to removing a significant amount of funds from the rainy day fund to reduce spending cuts. What, if any, types of tax increases do you propose that would restore the rainy day fund, protect most vulnerable citizens, and rebuild our infrastructure?
Can I go first? Somebody else accused me not answering the question. I'll answer this question. What we need to do is what Jeff Kessler tried to do, and I'm going to double down on, is make these out-of-state people in the oil and gas industry pay their way. That's what we need to do. And these people aren't going to do it. This girl will get lost on her way to the restroom down there for 2 years, okay? Now that's what we need, is to convince, and I don't know if it can be done or not. But I tell you, if you have she talks about why she left the Democratic Party. When the Democratic Party nominated a man who, if he makes it, and his health is serious, but he's worse than mine probably, if he makes it for a year, it'll be a year he's been a Democrat since this billionaire co-operator. Is this what you want? Look on the other side. You've got a used car salesman, millionaire used car salesman, what was his first job in office? What was the first thing he did? He took away from the lemon law. You can't take your car back. Thank you.
You know, every forum that I come to, I learn something, and I've learned something from John. Stand up. I should know better. I'm an educator. And I do want to introduce my wife of 43 years, a retired educator. Thank you, John. Let me talk a little bit about the rainy day fund. The rainy day fund is not perpetuated or funded by taxes. What happens at the end of each fiscal year, any excess money is divided into two, and half of that money goes into the rainy day fund. So we've had some really good years due to our coal industry and workforce and things of that sort. So we've been able to build that rainy day fund almost up to $1 million. Now the problem you're going to get into, I know I've received a lot of criticism when I was chair of finance. You got this $1 million sitting down there. Teachers need a raise. Public employees need a raise. You know, DHHR folks are working enormous caseloads. If you build your budget on the rainy day fund, it's only one-time money. It's like going into your pocket and taking the money that you have and paying for an expense. You're going to get by it 1 year, but you're not going to get by it the second year because you're going to have to raise revenues. And that's going to put you in a real precarious situation. There are a lot of different ways that we can raise revenue. A 1 cent sales tax is going to give us about $200 million. That'll serve about half of our problem right now. The food tax, we can put that back on. There are several other taxes. Whatever we do, we're going to have to work together, find the answer, cuts, revenue enhancements, and go forward accordingly. It's going to take a concerted effort.
I agree with the senator. I don't think there's any easy way out of the situation that we find ourselves in. They're no fault of our own. It's the economy that's driven this issue. When times are good, you decrease taxes, And when times get tough, if you don't have enough money, you may have to increase those. None of us like taxes, none of us want tax increases, but we all like to have clean water, we all like to drive on roads without potholes, and we all like to have state services provided in a timely fashion. So I think we have to be realistic. The cigarette tax was a sin tax, if you will. And also there are other things out there I think that we could look at as well. So that's my feeling. I think we will have to work together across the aisle to make that happen and to look at the tough things that need to be done in order to meet the revenue that the state needs to have a balanced budget.
This is an issue that has been brought up frequently during these forums about roads and infrastructure. The condition of our road infrastructure, as well as other types of infrastructures, continues to hold our community and our state back from growing and diversifying our economy. What steps have you taken, or would you take, as a legislator, to make improvements in our road infrastructure? And are you willing to raise the gas tax?
As I said previously, I don't think anybody likes to increase taxes, but it may be an option that we have to look at and address that. I think there's some restructuring of the gas tax that was talked about last year in the legislature, the way that it actually is distributed, and we may be able to get a little bit more revenue from that tax just as it is, just by restructuring that tax. I also think that some of the roads are worse than other areas. I happen to live in the heart of the Marcellus Shale area, and our roads at times when the gas industry is booming are terrible because of the traffic on those roads. And I think sometimes we need to think about the revenue that industry brings in and take care of those issues on those roads. So I would consider an increase in the gasoline tax. And again, it's just tough. It's going to be a tough job that we have to come up with the revenue to meet. And I agree, I have some very rural counties in my district that I've traveled on. So far, Doddridge County has the worst roads in my district, having traveled to all nine counties. It's a heavily used gas and oil county as well. But I think that in order to get businesses in, we have to have the infrastructure to help move the goods and services and to get people to work. So it's critical that we take care of those infrastructure issues.
The older I get, the harder it is to unwind to stand up, and I have to stand up for this one. If we don't get them now, by that I mean the oil and gas people, we're never going to get them. Don't you understand? These wells are going to be run by 3 well tenders in the whole district out of somewhere in Oklahoma. That's where they're going to be. If we don't get them now, that's what's going to happen. And to talk about putting tax on gasoline, oh my. Boy, some poor coal miner drives 50 miles, 100 miles to work, and they drive that well far. What are they going to do? You're talking about putting taxes. Let's get to the meat of the thing. That's what Jeff Kester's trying to do, and I'm going to double down on that. And I'll scream till Christ goes home to death if necessary. Let's make them pay. Make them pay.
One thing you have to be concerned with, when we talk about the general revenue budget, none of that money goes into roads. Most of the roads is coming from federal highway funds or fees and services. Now, you had the ex-chairman of Roads and Transportation Committee, Bob Beach, in your district. He knows exactly what needs to be done. He increased fees that haven't been looked at in 20 years. Unfortunately, the governor vetoed that bill. The governor did have a Blue Ribbon Commission. And the Blue Ribbon Commission primarily outlined different needs and roads and bridge needs and things of that sort, and also gave you a formula of how to pay for those. You're going to have to enhance public-private. You're going to have to look at tolls. You're going to have to look at the gas tax. Now, We did a study on roads and transportations in Department of Highways last year and came up with $50 million worth of efficiencies. Now, that helps. If you could do the 50 million, but that's the best case scenario. You'd have to change a lot of case law and a lot of things to make sure that you enhance that money. The Blue Ribbon Commission estimated that we need about $800 million to fix our roads. That's all, and I would assume now it's up to $1 billion. We're going to have to do something different. We're going to have to get the folks out there, the business people to, I don't know whether it's, okay, we're going to have to enhance that public-private. We're going to have to do something drastically next session. Now, look at the perfect storm that's coming. Possibly $320 million in deficits for general revenue, $1 billion for roads. We didn't talk much about roads in the last session. I think everybody's afraid of it, including the governor and the legislature and all the bureaucrats. But we are going to have to face that issue sooner or later. We do, and I agree with John on this. You're going to have, and Lisa both, you're going to have to hold the gas companies accountable. And I think there's a mechanism in place that when they run over these roads, they have to bond the road, and eventually they have to pay for the damages that they do. We got to make sure that that's strictly enforced, and we got to make sure the law is adhered to. But the financial problem for the next 4 years, and especially next year, is going to be paramount. And we've got to have no bickering. We've got to sit down with everybody, all the stakeholders, and work this thing out and find ways that we're not going to hurt that coal miner who has to drive, to his job in places like that. But if you want roads, there's no other way to get them but to pay for it.
Well, thank you very much for coming and answering our questions. Let's give them another hand.